Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're diving into something literally every single one of us deals with, but honestly, very few of us actually understand. We're talking about anger. Now, I was completely fascinated to learn how we can fundamentally reframe this incredibly powerful, and let's face it, sometimes overwhelming emotion. Instead of looking at anger as this massive character flaw or some kind of failure in self-control, I want you to picture it as an iceberg. What we actually see up there on the surface, the shouting, the intense frustration, the slammed doors, that's just a tiny fraction of the whole picture. We're going to dive deep today to uncover the profound psychological truths hiding underneath the water.
So, to set the stage here, anger is a signal and one worth listening to. It's absolutely crucial we establish right out of the gate that feeling angry isn't actually a problem in and of itself. Actually, it's one of our 6 basic human emotions. It is a completely natural, biological fight-or-flight response. Your body just automatically fires it up when it senses a threat, a boundary violation, or even just an unmet need. Your heart rate spikes, the adrenaline hits, and your emotional brain takes the wheel. It's really a brilliant biological alarm system. So the goal here isn't to somehow never feel angry again. The goal is to figure out what that alarm is desperately trying to tell us. Okay, here is our roadmap for today. First, what is anger really? Second, the secondary emotion. Third, workplace outbursts and costs. And finally, conscious strategies for change.
Let's jump right into section 1. What is anger really?
You see, anger isn't just a simple on and off switch. It really exists on a whole spectrum. We start at the top with just basic irritation. That mild annoyance at a minor inconvenience. Then it dials up to frustration, which is that grating feeling of being blocked from a goal. Down from there is resentment. That one is a lingering, heavy bitterness from feeling treated unfairly, and it can really eat away at you over time. Next, we hit what we classically call anger, which is a strong, demanding emotional response. And finally, at the absolute extreme end, we have rage, where the sheer intensity completely clouds our judgment. Recognizing exactly where you fall on this spectrum in any given moment, that's your critical first step towards real self-awareness.
All right, moving on to section 2, the secondary emotion.
Okay, this right here is the absolute core of today's explainer. A secondary emotion is essentially a reaction or an outlet that we use to express much deeper, heavier emotions that frankly just feel way too vulnerable to show the world. What that means is anger is almost always a mask. Think about it. So many of us learned really early on that being angry is somehow more socially acceptable, or it looks more active and powerful than just being deeply sad or scared. So we subconsciously throw on this anger mask as a shield to protect ourselves from feeling so incredibly exposed. Look at how these primary emotions completely transform into defensive anger in the real world. Say the real underlying emotion is fear. Like maybe you're terrified about your job security. The anger mask pops up and suddenly you're lashing out at a colleague just to feel protected. Or maybe the root is sadness. You might act aggressively because sadness feels so passive and helpless, while anger feels like you're taking action. And then, wow, there's shame. This is probably the most hidden root cause of all. When we feel fundamentally flawed or embarrassed, anger becomes this incredibly heavy, reactive shield against that painful truth. Identifying these raw, underlying feelings is the absolute key to unlocking your emotional intelligence.
Let's bring this into our daily lives with section 3, workplace outbursts and costs.
You are definitely going to recognize some of these from your own daily grind. At work, anger isn't always some dramatic movie scene of a person screaming in the hallway. Sometimes it is, sure, like sudden outbursts or raising voices in a meeting, but a lot of the time, it's much quieter. It's passive aggression, it's biting sarcasm, or giving a coworker the silent treatment. Sometimes it manifests as suddenly micromanaging your entire team because you're stressed and just desperate for some semblance of control. Or it looks like constantly shifting the blame and getting incredibly defensive. It can even just be a total emotional withdrawal from collaborative projects. And the thing is, these behaviors silently erode trust. They completely destroy team cohesion, and they carry massive professional costs, from missed promotions all the way to formal HR interventions.
Now, this is just fascinating. Let's look at the sheer weight of how we actually deliver our frustration to others. Research shows that during a conflict, an aggressive delivery relies almost entirely on nonverbal cues. Check this out. A massive 55% of the message is body language, and 38% is your tone of voice. A measly 7% comes from the actual spoken words. Just 7%. This proves that if you're in a workplace conflict, a raised pitch or tense shoulders matters exponentially more than the perfectly crafted words you're saying. Because even if your logic is absolutely flawless, if your tone is sharp, the person listening instantly stops hearing your message and shifts completely into defending themselves against your delivery.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, Conscious Strategies for Change.
90 seconds. That's it. According to neuroscientist Dr. Jill Bolt-Taylor, 90 seconds is the exact amount of time it takes for an emotional chemical wave to run its entire course through your body. From that initial trigger, to the huge surge of adrenaline, to its natural dissipation, 90 seconds. If you can manage to just ride out that biological wave without acting on it, the physical intensity of the anger will naturally start to fade away. It's wild to think about, but any anger you feel after that initial minute and a half, that's actually you consciously or subconsciously choosing to re-stimulate the emotion with your own looping thoughts. So, the million-dollar question, how do we actually get through those crucial 90 seconds without burning any bridges at work or at home? We use the STOP technique. It's 4 really distinct steps. First, S, stop. Literally just pause whatever you are doing or saying in that exact moment. Second, T, take a breath. Just one slow, deep breath physically activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your body's way of signaling that you are safe. Third, O, observe. Notice what you're actually feeling physically and try to name that primary emotion beneath the iceberg. Are you actually just scared, ashamed? And finally, P, proceed mindfully. Once that wave passes, you can actually choose your response rather than just automatically reacting. This is the blueprint for surviving that 90-second chemical wave without doing any collateral damage.
Let's look at how this plays out with cognitive reframing. Compare these two mindsets. The reactive response immediately assumes the worst. They did that on purpose to disrespect me. Boom. That interpretation instantly triggers your anger defense. But the conscious response pauses and reframes the exact same situation. Well, they may not have realized how that would affect me. This is huge because it proves we have the power to consciously choose alternative explanations instead of just defaulting to feeling threatened. And to be clear, it doesn't mean pretending everything is sunshine and rainbows. It simply means actively choosing a perspective that keeps your rational brain sitting squarely in the driver's seat. To wrap up our explainer today, I want to leave you with a really powerful reflection question. If your anger were a mask, what emotion is it covering today? I highly encourage you to take this question with you into your week. The next time you feel that familiar wave of frustration rising up, whether you're at your desk or sitting in your living room, remember that 90-second rule. Look beneath the surface of the iceberg and ask yourself, what is actually going on here? By identifying the fear or the sadness or the shame hiding underneath, you are taking a massive leap toward real self-awareness. You are totally equipped now to turn those reactive outbursts into incredibly conscious growth. Thank you so much for diving deep with me today on The Explainer, and as always, keep learning.